Russia's war on Ukraine tops the agenda as leaders of 40 European countries meet for talks in neighbouring Moldova.
As another child dies as a result of Russian shelling, the world is reminded that nearly 500 children have been killed in the war so far.
Europe's inflation took a positive turn for the month of May, dropping to 6.1%, but experts warn consumers will not see a drop in prices right away.
The U.S. House of Representatives has passed the country's debt ceiling bill, marking a crucial step in avoiding a default crisis.
Russia's war on Ukraine tops the agenda at the second meeting of the European political community in Moldova. President Volodymyr Zelensky was among the almost 50 leaders attending the summit. Greeted by the host country's president, Maia Sandu, Zelensky pressed the case for Ukraine's membership of NATO.
We are waiting when NATO will be ready to host and to have Ukraine. And I think security guarantees are very important, not only for Ukraine, for our neighbors, for Moldova, because of the Russia and of their aggression in Ukraine.
The EU's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, condemned overnight attacks by Russia on Ukraine and noted the absence of President Vladimir Putin.
Russia is not here not because we don't want to invite Russia, but because Putin's Russia has excluded of this community by launching this attack, this war, unjustified against Ukraine.
The European political community is a forum for debate on common strategic issues. But as our correspondent in Moldova explains, no major breakthroughs are expected.
The choice to hold the second European Political Community Summit in Moldova is seen by many as a strong message to Kremlin that any threat to the country's sovereignty will not stay unanswered. But apart from the high symbolism, no big announcements are expected today, but more bilateral talks between leaders, especially as ethnic tensions are mounting between Serbia and Kosovo, whose leaders are also attending the summit. Efi Koutsakosta, Euronews, Moldova.
This park in Kyiv is where Ukrainian officials say they found the lifeless body of a child. The result, they say, of the latest missile and drone attack on the capital by Russia. His grandmother survived, but two other people, including a mother who was with her young son, lost their lives. Speaking on International Children's Day, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky recalled that at least 483 children have been killed in the war and almost 20,000 deported to Russia or Belarus.
Не те, що можна назвати словами, вони стали жертвами російської агресії, чи вони загинули внаслідок збройного конфлікту. Ні, Росія вбила цих дітей. Ще майже 1000 дітей Росія скалічила. І про це не можна сказати, вони зазнали ушкоджень внаслідок бойових дій.
Moscow also speaks of children as victims in conflict. Images released by Russian state TV purport to show the aftermath of shelling in the Belgorod region that Moscow blames on Kyiv. The video also showed images of what it says were children being taken on buses from two districts bordering Ukraine deeper into Russia. Moscow says one man was injured in the shelling of a town in the border region of Belgorod that it's blaming on Kyiv. Russian state TV aired pictures of buildings damaged in the alleged attack on Shebekino. The images also purported to show people being bussed out of the area to a safer location. Russia's Ministry of Defense spokesman blamed a Ukrainian armoured combat unit and claimed they'd been driven back. He described the attackers as terrorists. Residents evacuated from the town were later filmed at an emergency accommodation centre where officials said they would be found temporary shelter. Moscow has accused Ukraine of being behind a spate of recent reported attacks on its territory. Kyiv has consistently denied any involvement.
The Russian military command has likely ordered Chechen Republic head Ramzan Kadyrov's forces to begin offensive operations in Ukraine following the withdrawal from Wagner Group forces from Bakhmut, says the Institute for the Study of War. Kadyrov claimed that Chechen forces received a new order and assumed responsibility over the Donetsk region front line. He added that Chechen forces Akhmat transferred to the Mariinka direction, southwest of Donetsk city. Kadyrov noted that the Russian military command ordered Russian forces Rosgvardia and Chechen Akhmat forces to begin offensive actions along the front line in Zaporizhia and Kherson region as well. Kadyrov said that there are 7,000 Chechen personnel in Ukraine. The Institute for the Study of War says if these claims are close to accurate, his forces will not be able to mount multiple significant offensive operations successfully. Now, the claimed return of Chechen forces to offensive operations would break Kadyrov fighters from a nearly year-long hiatus from participating in high-intensity combat operations. Chechen forces have been largely operating in the rear after participating in the battles for Mariupol, Severodonetsk and Lysychansk. The Institute for the Study of War says the Kremlin may be attempting to reintroduce Kadyrov soldiers as the main offensive force following the culmination of Wagner forces and their withdrawal from the front lines. The Kremlin may also be attempting to re-emphasize federal authority over Chechen forces.
Year-on-year inflation in the Eurozone fell 0.9 of a percentage point in May compared with the previous month to 6.1%. According to preliminary data published on Thursday by the EU Statistics Office Eurostat. Similarly, core inflation, which excludes energy and unprocessed food from the calculation because they are more volatile, also slowed its growth last month from 7.3% in April to 6.9% in May. However, economists warn that it will be many months before consumers see more normal levels of inflation reflected on shop labels. Although prices are rising more slowly, they are adding to the already high costs driven in part by Russia's war in Ukraine. Moreover, Eurostat also indicated that Europe's unemployment rate fell by 0.1 of a percentage point in April from March to 6.5%. Inflation rates fell in Germany, France and Italy.
The Republican-led U.S. House of Representatives has passed the country's debt ceiling bill, crossing a crucial hurdle to potentially avert a dangerous default that could have led to catastrophic consequences for the U.S. and global economy.
Yeas are 314, the nays are 117. The bill is passed. Without objection, a motion to reconsider.
The bill will now move on to the Senate, where it is expected to receive swift approval before a Monday deadline. When the U.S. Treasury said the country would run short of money if the bill is not passed by Congress. The package leaves hardly any lawmakers fully satisfied, but President Joe Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy have managed to pull together support from the political center, a rarity in divided Washington, testing the leadership of the Democratic president and the Republican speaker.
NATO-led peacekeepers step up security around a town hall in northern Kosovo, the scene of clashes earlier this week that left more than 80 people injured. On Wednesday, hundreds of ethnic Serbs rallied outside Zvecan's town hall for a third consecutive day. They repeated their demand for the withdrawal from northern Kosovo of the special police and ethnic Albanian officials who were elected to mayor's offices in votes overwhelmingly boycotted by Serbs. The crowd spread a huge Serbia flag outside the city hall that stretched over 200 meters from the municipal building to the town centre. International efforts to defuse the crisis are underway. European officials have already met with Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić, while Kosovo Prime Minister Albin Kurti has been in talks with other EU officials on the sidelines of a conference in Slovakia. Discussions are to continue. The unrest has raised fears of renewed conflict in the troubled region. NATO's sending 700 additional troops. A German government spokesman said Chancellor Olaf Scholz and French President Emmanuel Macron plan to meet the leaders of Serbia and Kosovo on Thursday. Sevilla fans left the Puskás Arena relieved following a tense match on Wednesday night after their team won the Europa League final.
Oh, of course I'm happy. I have gone for 4 finals. This is the first one we won. This is incredible. This is amazing. We have a very bad season. We thought we were going to go to second division, and here we are. We are Europa League champions, and we are in Champions League.
Viva mi Sevilla, vamos campeón. La 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 la.
Roma fans who'd seen one of their players score an own goal, paving the way for a penalty shootout, were bitter.
I thought that Jose Mourinho made a massive mistake by taking Paulo Dybala off that early in the game. He was definitely the MVP in the first half. And honestly, all I got to say is I'm very disappointed in that. I thought that they had it and then they lost it as soon as Sevilla came up.
While around 60,000 people watched the game in the Puskás Arena, the terraces in downtown Budapest were also full of fans enjoying the match. In the afternoon, fights had broken out among some groups of supporters in the city centre. 2 people were taken to hospital. There was no repeat of the violence at the match itself.
Egy nagyon hosszúra nyúlt meccs után rendkívül csalódottak a Róma szurkolói, akik szerint ez a játék elvesztegetett lehetőség volt, és a legtöbben az edzőjüket szítták. A Sevilla szurkolói azonban mérhetetlenül boldogok. Úgy tűnik, hogy csapatuk legyőzhetetlen az Europa Liga döntőjében. Ez volt a 7. győzelmük. Senuda Nóra, Euronews, Budapest.